Good evening and welcome. My name is Hannah Kimberley, and I am a resident of Gloucester and the president of the League of Women Voters of Cape Ann. The League is very pleased to bring you a debate between the four candidates who we have here for two open seats on the Board of Selectmen. The two newcomers are Michael Polisson, all the way there on the left, and Denise Donnelly, all the way over here on the right. And our two incumbents are Erin Battistelli and Paul Murphy. The election is Tuesday, May 2nd. So please do mark your calendars and encourage everyone you know in Rockport to go vote, because democracy is not a spectator sport. The League is a nonpartisan political organization for women and men, which encourages the informed and active participation of citizens in government. One way we do this is by presenting candidates directly to you, the voters, in a fair and equal format. We hope that over the course of this program, you will learn more about each candidate and what they do and what they hope to do for the town. So now I'm going to introduce the candidates. Our first incumbent is Paul Murphy, and Paul was born in Rockport in 1965. He attended the Rockport Public Schools and graduated in 1984. He spent his high school years playing athletics and serving for 3 consecutive years as the president of the Student Council. At the University of Maine, he served as a student senator all 4 years while he was there, and he was elected by his senior class to be the class speaker at his college graduation. He graduated in 1989 and began his career in education in Cambridge. After that, he got a job teaching social studies at Rockport High School in the early 1990s, and he stayed on there until 1995, when he accepted a job as assistant principal at Manchester Essex Regional High School. Paul holds a master's degree in education in school administration. In the mid-90s, he served 2 terms on the school committee and was serving the last 2 years as chairman. He was elected 6 years ago to the Board of Selectmen, where he is currently chairman. He's the only person in the town history to serve as chairman of both the school committee and the Board of Selectmen. He's married to Mary Beth, and they have 3 kids, Sarah, who is 17, Colleen, who is 16, and Michael, who is 13.
That's why I have gray hair for those ages.
All right. Next, we have our first newcomer, Denise Donnelly. Denise has 30-plus years of successful corporate experience in global human resources consulting. She's a senior leader charged with managing a $60 million annual budget and 30-plus employees. She has served on board of directors of the New England Employee Benefits Council and University Credit Union. Denise is also a co-author of Falcon's Cry, a Desert Storm memoir. She taught for 5 years at the university level, including teaching at the University of Missouri, Tufts University, and Potsdam University in Germany. She graduated cum laude with her BA from Wesleyan University, and she has an MA in English and Creative Writing from the University of Missouri. Denise is also a former Girl Scout leader. Let's see. Next, we have Erin Battistelli, who is our second incumbent. Erin grew up in Rockport and is a graduate from the Rockport school system. She has a BA from Salem State University in political science. Erin was a legislative aide to a state representative. She then worked as an environmental planner for the Department of Environmental Protection. Erin was an assistant to Mayor Richard Silva and later served as Gloucester's first recycling coordinator, where she spearheaded the move toward the citywide curbside recycling program that exists today. Coming from Gloucester, thank you. Other positions Erin has held include working at Rockport's elementary school as a playground school monitor and the program management for the Cape Ann Chamber of Commerce. She currently manages family-owned rental property, primarily located in Rockport. She serves on the board of the Rockport Education Foundation, as well as the Senior Care Advisory Board for the North Shore. Erin has been a member of the Rockport Board of Selectmen for the last 6 years. She served 2.5 years as chairperson and represented the board for 3 years on the Capital Improvement Planning Committee. And lastly, but not least, we have Mr. Polisson, Mike Polisson, who is our second newcomer. And Mr. Polisson was a commercial fisherman for 40 years. He lived in Rockport he's lived in Rockport most of his life, and he has raised 2 children in town. Okay, so there will be no formal opening statements from the candidates, but there will be 2-minute closing statements. So I will be asking as many questions that were prepared by the League of Women Voters as we can get in. The candidates have not seen the questions beforehand. The format will be to discuss each question for about 10 minutes, pardon me, allowing the candidates to go back and forth, speaking more than once. Since our goal is to include as many different issues as possible, I ask that the candidates keep on to the specific subject of the question. So candidates, I want to be able to go on talking about an issue if the discussion is interesting and you want to respond to each other's comments. So each candidate will have 2 minutes to start to speak for the first time until all 4 have spoken. Then, at my discretion, you'll be allowed to speak again, but I do not guarantee that you will all be able to speak multiple times. I have to cut it off at some point and move on to the next question. Please do not repeat each other's points. Even if you agree with another candidate, just say that you agree, but then say something new about the topic if you can. Let's see, what else? Oh, an audience, please. If you don't mind, would you hold your applause until the very end? Great. Okay, are we ready?
I just have one question.
Sure.
Where is the 30 seconds?
There's a 30-second lady right in front of you. This is Susan Hand.
Stand up and be counted.
Susan will hold up her 30-second sign, so be sure to kind of keep an eye on her after you've spoken for 1 minute and 30 seconds. So that will be your warning. And then we will, get the cane out and cut you off. All right. Okay, question number 1, and you guys are randomized in terms of the order. We did it very scientifically using a deck of cards. So we'll start off with Erin Battistelli, and the question for all of you is what is the town's most pressing financial concern? The short term and the long term. And also, what is the town's most pressing non-financial issue? So the town's most pressing financial concern, short and long term, and also what is the town's most pressing non-financial issue? And we'll start with Erin Battistelli.
Thank you. So I believe that our most pressing financial issue would be looking at our long-term debt.
Microphone, please.
Oh, so this is not working for the audience?
No,
Okay.
that's for TV.
Can you hear me? There we go. So having served on the board for about 6 years now and serving on the Capital Improvement Planning Committee, it is evident that I think our most pressing financial issue would be our long-term debt and what we see are needs that might add to that long-term debt. So what I've learned is that we're always trying to make sure that that debt is something that is under control to the extent that we can, while at the same time purchasing the assets, the capital, or meeting the capital needs of the town. Every year with our operating budget, it's always very tight, working with our finance committee to judiciously spend our revenue, meet our contractual obligations with our unions and our employees, but at the same time not have to come up with Proposition 2.5 every 2, 3, 4 years. At the moment, I think that we've held it at bay for maybe 8 years, and we're still not in a position where we're thinking that we're going to have to do that again next year. So that's what I feel about the financial pressing issue. The non-financial issue probably relates to the finances in that our population, what we've been, like other communities in this area, our population is decreasing. We have a beautiful town, but we're geographically challenged because we are a destination. People don't drive through and discover us and decide to move here and live here that way. So
Thank you.
thank you.
All right. Mr. Murphy, the town's most pressing financial concern, short and long term, and also the most pressing non-financial issue.
Continuing tight budgets that we have here in Rockport, there is this great misconception, and I hear it all the time when I'm outside of Rockport, that Rockport is a wealthy community. It isn't. We are struggling financially to give raises to union members and so forth. There is a need to create more tax revenue with not raising property taxes, because we do have a lot of elderly citizens, my mother included, 88 years old. We don't want to raise her real estate taxes or anyone at that point. But the budgets are tough, and we need to make sure that we think creatively and out of the box about how to create more revenue. We have building needs. The DPW barn up on Great Hill is in dire need of being replaced. It is deplorable when you go in there, and I think many people went in over the spring last year to see it, and it needs to be replaced at some point. But it also is going to cost millions of dollars to do that, so we got to struggle with that. The non-pressing problem in town is that people are buying year-round houses and living here just in the summer. Though we get the tax revenue, we don't have the population. The population has dropped, as Erin pointed out earlier, and that's a concern. And I know it's happened across the Commonwealth, but it is a concern here. And we need to attract people to come here, to live here in Rockport. Rockport is one of the most beautiful towns in the Commonwealth, if not the country, and it's a great place to live. So that's a problem, is the population problem.
Great, thank you. Mr. Polisson, what is the town's most pressing financial concern, short-term and long-term, and what is the town's most pressing non-financial issue?
Well, my thoughts on the situation is Town Hall is getting a little too big. We're spending a lot more, too much money than we shouldn't be spending. Taxes keep going up to our taxpayers, and they get less and less from the town for it. I think it's the time for the Board of Selectmen and the other committees in this town to start looking into how we can cut back on things. I know that there's certain contracts and stuff that we have that we really don't have a lot of control over, but the reason we don't have the control over is because the selectmen didn't take a firm stand when they were negotiating the contracts, and they gave the kitchen sink away. I think that's one of the most important things. We're getting less for more, and that's not the way it should be. The town needs to take back and help our citizens to live a little better with a little less taxes and a lot less on the fees.
Okay, thank you. Would
You don't
anybody?
need your 30-second sign.
Would anybody like to add any? Oh, I didn't. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's horrible. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin.
Ms. Donnelly,
Yes.
can you please tell us what is the most pressing, what you think is the most pressing financial concern, short and long term, as well as the most pressing non-financial issue?
So I have the benefit, obviously, of speaking last on this question, so I've had a few minutes to think about this, not that I haven't thought about it before, but I think that the most pressing long-term issue, both financial and non-financial for Rockport, is the fact that we are a seaside community and climate change is real, and I think that we need to start formulating a plan to think about how we're going to adjust financially and as a community to what's going to happen as the sea rises. So I think that's something that I'd like to see a more active role on the part of the selectmen and other committees in town. to really become much more thoughtful and proactive in preparing for what that's going to mean for us as a community, which is not to minimize the short-term and longer-term real financial concerns. Nobody wants their taxes to go up. People have come to expect a level of service. Coming from the corporate world, where we live quarter to quarter, where every decision is looked at from a perspective of, is this a profitable decision and is going to serve our clients? I think that what I'll be able to do is bring that perspective to every financial decision that we have to make as a town, and really maybe take a fresh approach to thinking about how our budget is expended, and make sure that we're spending our money wisely.
Now, would anybody else like to add on?
Sure. Can I respond to? So I guess I would like to respectfully disagree with Mr. Polisson's take on the local budget. Thank you. You know, my observations working with the Finance Committee, the schools, our town administrator, shows me that the revenue that's coming in is being spent very judiciously. We have had a hiring freeze for a number of years, to the point where when a person retires or leaves, the department has to come before the Board of Selectmen to basically get permission to fill that position. And in all my years, every person who has left, the needs or the duties of that person leaving are crucial to running the town. So we have approved that, but that hiring freeze stays in place because we look at every financial decision.
We have time. I would like to mention that I've been on the board for 6 years, and I can tell you that we do not spend money frivolously on Town Hall, at Town Hall. We are constantly meeting with department heads as a Board of Selectmen to find out where we can regionalize with other towns. Perfect example is we've shared the Veterans Administrator with Gloucester and Manchester and Rockport. That's, you know, we're saving money that way, and it's important. So the notion that you know, it's a free barrel of money in Town Hall is just not true.
Okay. All right. Let's go with question number 2 then. All right, here it is. Selectmen have been criticized in the past for not serving as liaisons between the board and various committees. How would you work with the town's many volunteer committees? And this time we're starting off with Mr. Polisson.
That's a very simple question, and there's a very simple answer. The Board of Selectmen has to respect the people that they appoint to these committees, and whatever they recommend, do it. I've been on some town committees where we've done extremely diligent work. The most important was on the Harbor Advisory Committee, and we worked months and months to formulate mooring fees and stuff like that. And when we presented them to the Board of Selectmen with our findings and exactly why we had a position, the Selectmen just turned around and did what they wanted anyway. So it kind of takes the wind out of the sails for people on these committees to turn around and really work hard and really try to be diligent to do the job that they're appointed to, when they don't get any thanks for it, and half the time they don't get recognized.
Okay, Ms. Battistelli, selectmen have been criticized in the past for not serving as liaisons between the board and various committees. How will you work with the town's many volunteer committees?
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you. I actually feel that the assignments that I have been given over the past 6 years, I have attended the meetings of various committees, the Council on Aging, the Planning Board. I'm trying to think, the financial assignments, I happen to be the current liaison to the sort of treasurer, collector, assessors, finance committee. I am always talking to the assessors. I go and visit the treasurer, collector. Let's see, I'm trying to think of a couple of more assignments that I've been given anyways. I know that under certain circumstances, if you're assigned a committee, for example, the Economic Development Committee, the Community Preservation Committee, it is difficult to go to their meetings because they meet on the same evening, or have been in the past. I think the CPA changed their meeting schedule to try to accommodate a member of the Board of Selectmen. My experience has been personally that our members are open to speaking with any member of any of the committees that we're assigned to, as well as committee members who we're not assigned to. So I understand there's a little frustration maybe on a couple of committees' parts that they haven't seen the presence of selectmen. So I think that we need to work harder to make sure that that does happen.
All right, Ms. Donnelly, how will you work with the town's many volunteer committees?
Thank you. I'm running. One of the reasons I'm running is because of a real commitment to openness and transparency in town government. And I really would like to see more of an effort to involve not just the town's committees, many of whom are appointed by the Board of Selectmen, but the public in general. And it's great to see so many people here tonight. One idea is that we live stream every meeting, Board of Selectmen meetings and committee meetings. So there's more of an opportunity for people in town to become engaged and really up to speed with what decisions are being made. I think a lot of people have felt a little bit surprised by some of the decisions that have been coming forth, and not realizing that the decisions had been made, not understanding how committees and the Board of Selectmen work together. So I will really be very committed to openness and transparency in working with the town committees and the citizens. I really want to make my service on the Board of Selectmen one where I make every opportunity to hear your concerns and what people have to say, to really listen and create a two-way dialogue with citizens. I come from a background where I've done communication consulting for many, many years. So that's something that I really want to focus on, is communicating openly and directly with the committees, really listening to their input, and then providing opportunities for others to participate.
Mr. Murphy?
I thought it would be me next. As chairperson of the Board of Selectmen, or any chairman, the chair does not have liaison assignments because of their function as a chair. But when I was a member of the Board of Selectmen, I was liaison to the Rockport Police Department and as well as the school department. And I was very involved in both of the assignments that I had, especially the school department, where obviously I'm an educator, so I was able to speak their language and go to school committee meetings. I would like to have attended more school committee meetings, but I did attend school committee meetings. I had constant contact with the administrators and teachers, and I would give my opinion. Not always welcomed at times, but most of the time they understood where I was coming from. At the police department, I was very involved in public safety. Especially I was on the screening committee for the new police chief, John Horvath. Had spent a long time interviewing candidates, bringing them through the assessment center. I was very comfortable with that process, and I felt that I did a very good job helping leading that process. It was a very open process, and I think we were very lucky to have a chief like John Horvath here in Rockport. We wouldn't survive without the 40 committees that are appointed by the Board of Selectmen, without these people in Rockport, and we appreciate that. And Mr. Polisson, I don't believe for 1 minute that we overlook these people. We constantly have them in for reappointment and talk to them and ask them how the board asks them what we can do to be more helpful to them. And in fact, I got 30 seconds to go, every time at the holiday season, we invite all these volunteers to the community house for a holiday party, for a kind of a small gesture. Thank you for serving the town of Rockport.
Okay. Would anyone like to add anything?
Nope.
If I could just, this of course might be a different question, so stop me if I start talking. So Ms. Donnelly sort of alluded to the issue of you're surprised about, decisions sometimes that the board makes. And, all of our meetings are public, unless, of course, it's one of those 3 issues where we are required to go into executive session. I think as Selectman Wilkinson has said a couple of times at our recent meetings, we would love to not have to do that. We are required by law to do it. So I believe that you might have alluded to a particular decision that you were surprised at later on that you didn't even know was happening, and that might have been Woodland Acres. And basically, back in 2014, there was no decision. There was some discussion at one of our meetings. We were asked to go into executive session by the owners of that property, and so we did so. We had 2 meetings where some information or a proposal was brought before us. We didn't take any actions, but I just think this feeling that decisions are made behind closed doors, they're not. You can discuss things in executive session, but once you're going to make any sort of vote or decision, that's all done in public setting.
So I don't want to get too
Yeah,
tangled up in the
'cause it might
details,
be-
but
Because we will have to
yeah,
move on.
I actually met the owner of the property the other evening and was told they never asked to go into executive session, and not making a decision is also a decision. So
Okay.
I'll just leave that there.
We're going to move
That's
on
what we were
to the.
told, so, okay.
We're going to move on to the next one.
Could I make a quick comment?
If you've got 10 seconds.
I agree that the Woodland Acres thing should be public hearing stuff. The Board of Selectmen, if they're going to have meetings with the owners, they should have it right out in public where everybody can see what's going on, everybody can hear what's going on, and no hocus pocus in the back room.
All righty. The next question. The town has just formed a new housing trust fund. What should be its mission? What should its mission be for the next 3 years? The town has just formed a new housing trust fund. What should be its mission for the next 3 years? And we'll start off with Ms. Donnelly.
Thank you. I'd really like to see the town focus on providing opportunities for affordable housing for police, teachers, people who have grown up in the town, creating some sort of fair, balanced lottery system so that people who have families here who can no longer afford to live here, people who are serving the town on the police force, people who are teaching our children and raising the next generation who will be the stewards of this place, have an opportunity to put down roots and really live in Rockport, because it has become a challenge for people kind of in the middle income range to be able to afford to live here.
Thank you. Mr. Polisson, the town has just formed a new public housing trust fund. What should its mission be for the next 3 years?
What it should be is to create as many housing units for Rockport residents and their children as possible. And let me reiterate, loud and clear to everybody in this room, there is no such thing as affordable housing in the town of Rockport. When you look at the median cost of a home, you can see that that's, for a lot of people, sure, police, firemen, the teachers, they all make good money. But what about the poor slob who's got a lower end job that can't afford the kind of money they got? Those are the people that the Housing Trust should be aimed at, trying to keep them in Rockport. If they were born and raised here and they raised their kids here, you want to keep Rockporters in Rockport. Thank you.
Mr. Murphy?
Thank you. This certainly is a challenge for Rockport and many other small towns across the North Shore and beyond. There is a need for both. The town of Rockport, I think, has done an excellent job preserving open space, including the potential of Woodland Acres. The town, via its new community development department, will do a nice job creating affordable housing and low-income housing. It's important to this. We don't want Rockport to become a wealthy enclave with $1 million houses only. We need to have a cross-section, like it always was, of affordable housing for people that are on the lower end as well as the higher end.
Thank you. Ms. Battistelli?
Yes, well, I think one thing that this new housing trust, I keep forgetting that. I'm so sorry. I know, so sorry. So one intention of the new housing trust is to be able to accept donations of not only financial donations, but existing real property. So this sets us up to accept that from people who may want to donate their property to the town for affordable housing. I think that we need to encourage the Housing Trust to look at existing properties that are not living up to their full potential. For example, a piece of property that is basically 3 units but needs a lot of rehab can be converted into 3 relatively affordable condo units. Actually, it's a twofer because the 3 affordable condo units would go back on the tax roll in a higher level. So I think we can encourage, without going beyond, cutting trees down or taking up extra space in the yard. Some of these houses really need to see some rehab so that they would be properties that people would be interested in purchasing. We're a coastal community where housing is a little costlier than in other locations, but I know of a number of young families who have worked very hard and they have sacrificed here and there, and they have purchased in Rockport. So that's another notion that we sort of buy into the fact that nobody with young families can actually afford to live here, and that isn't the case. I know of a number of young families who have actually invested in Rockport. Thank you.
Okay, would anyone like to add anything?
It's been a while since the town has done an assessment of how much affordable housing is available in Rockport, and I think it's time that we look at that because we are on the lower end. I think it was 9–10%. Last time I checked, maybe not. I might have the
No, it's 7.
7%.
Yeah,
So, but
7.6.
it's a pressing issue because, again, like I said earlier, and I don't want to repeat myself, so I won't say it again.
Well, hold on to your microphone. You're
next.
I'm next.
I'm sorry, Mr. Paulson.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, on this housing thing, one of the 3 things for the Community Preservation Act is to raise money or to use some of that money for affordable housing, and we use it for everything but. Maybe it's time to turn it around and start putting it where it'll do some good.
10 seconds.
Oh, 10 seconds? Okay. We are making progress in this venue. We've partnered with Harbor Lights community partners on 3 different, one different project that's beginning right now at Granite Street. 23 units are proposed for mixed use of seniors and young families. So that is actually moving forward, and the Board of Selectmen worked with Harbor Lights to make that happen. The other 2 projects, I'll be real quick, we've worked with Harbor Lights to extend the leases for Cove Ledges as well as the Rockport housing apartments, and those leases I think last for 51 years. Granted, these people don't own, but they are able to live affordably and comfortably in Rockport.
Okay, thank you. So we are back to you, Mr. Murphy. And the next question is, what would you like to see different in town in 5 years? And what would you like to see different in town in 10 years?
That's a good question. I would like to see a lot more affordable housing so that teachers and other blue-collar workers or similar blue-collar workers would be able to move here. I would like to see a downtown that's vibrant and businesses open year-round so that not only tourists can enjoy Rockport, also residents of Rockport. I'd like to see a school system that is close to 350 to 400 students at the high school. It's painfully dropping to a level. The Rockport High has 293 kids. That is pretty scary. It's because of as I said, we've been talking about the population dropping. I'd like to see a school system with a larger population. I think there's a lot of great things going on Jordan's Lane. It has nothing to do with the education. It's just the numbers aren't there. The young families aren't moving into Rockport. So I'd like to see that happen, and I'd like to see the senior citizens being treated like they are currently at the senior center. More programs for them. I'd like to see people getting along and people not questioning every decision that boards, not just the Board of Selectmen, other boards make. I'd like to see town meeting packed with 500 people, that Bobby Visnick has to go out and get more clickers and things of that nature. The artists thriving, and the lobstermen and the fishermen. And Rockport's a terrific town, and we're doing fairly well, but we can do better, and I'd like to see that happen. And all those things can come together if everyone's working together, and I'm confident that can happen.
Okay. Ms. Donnelly, what would you like to see different in town in 5 years and in 10 years?
I keep thinking of all the things I'd like to see not different. I think we have such a wonderful and unique balance, and such a community that really is alive. And I'd like to see that continue. I'd like to see, I think one thing I'd like to see is as many people who are here tonight and have been engaged recently in kind of the discussions that have been going on about issues like the sanctuary question. I'd like to see that continue, not the divisiveness, but the fact that people are engaged and really interested in having discussions that respect both sides, but really participating in running the town and forming the community. So I guess I'd like to see more of that. I think all the things that Paul said sound great. So I'll throw in a me too there. But I'd like to see us continue to honor the legacy of this beautiful place that we've inherited, that we have been trying really hard to be good stewards of. We're very lucky that we're the beneficiaries of Roger Babson and what he granted to us in the town. And I just think, you know, balancing the needs of maintaining open space and what makes us special, but creating opportunities for businesses to thrive, maybe some different kinds of businesses that we haven't always thought about. You know, we have lots of galleries, and we want to continue the arts community to be able to feel that they can thrive, but other kinds of businesses that maybe have a smaller footprint, but could see Rockport as a great place to establish and grow.
Ms. Battistelli, what would you like to see different in town in 5 years and in 10 years?
Well, I agree with Ms. Donnelly about what do I want to see different, maybe not so much different, because I grew up in Rockport, and one of the things that I'd like to actually wish backwards would be more places in Rockport that we can shop locally. And I've always encouraged shopping locally as much as you possibly can, because when we don't do that, we're going to lose the brick and mortars that are downtown. Growing up here, there were, you know, a number of markets right downtown in Rockport. I would love to see more of a village feel, or continue what we have, but encourage more of a village downtown feel for people. Like Paul, I envision and want to see strong school systems, and with an increasing population in our schools. I would really encourage more participation by people. I think that debates like this, you know, people getting engaged, as you said, is so important, because you know, all of our decisions, they're made by people who actually show up, not by people who are sitting back just complaining. So I'd love to have more people involved. And can I do a Me Too? Because both of what you said are everything that I think we all want for the town of Rockport. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Polisson, what would you like to see different in town in 5 years or 10 years?
In 5 years, I would like to see town government be more attuned to the needs of its citizens. What the citizens need, what the citizens want, what the citizens are willing to spend the money on. And unfortunately, it's kind of a deterrent to tourism. Granted, everybody likes to see the tourists downtown. They come to town, they spend a few bucks, and they leave. But most of the tourist industry doesn't do anything for the taxpayers in Rockport. I mean, the fishermen might sell a few lobsters, they might sell a couple of fish, there's a few shop owners, but the average person who lives here gets no benefit out of the tourists, except the traffic is heavier, we gotta have more police, we gotta have more bathrooms, we gotta have more trash collection, you know. I just would like to see government do what the taxpayers want, and listen to the taxpayers, and really listen. And in 10 years, I hope I'm here to see what's left.
Me too.
Does anyone want to add, Ms. Battistelli?
Thank you. So again, I respectfully disagree with Mr. Polisson. In terms of our businesses, we reap so many benefits that you may not even think about in terms of our children having jobs all throughout the summer. The businesses provide, you know, so many donations to our local charities and our school system. I couldn't disagree more on that. I forget what I was going to actually say again, but Denise, go.
Yeah, I'll agree to disagree with Mr. Polisson. I think that we are one organism, and the business community is an essential part of that. I actually was going around to the different businesses and galleries in town, and I heard a great idea from one of the gallery owners. You know, what if we set up city bikes up at the parking lot and, you know, made a bike lane into town and made it easier for people to get into town and get around and really create more of a continuous feeling of this is a great place to visit. So I think we should do more along those lines to facilitate tourists visiting us.
Can I just add, sorry.
Yeah,
Paul.
all I just
Yes.
wanted to say is, you know, Rockport's main industry right now is tourism, and I'd like to also see other companies and businesses come here. But right now, it's tourism basically, and we have to really embrace that. And I think it's great. I think when Rockport's crowded downtown, I know it's not ideal, but it's great because people are having fun. They're spending money, and in the end, it helps Rockport because Rockport doesn't want to raise their real estate taxes, and we got to do something so that we can maintain the services that the town currently has.
And I would just like to add real quick that
You gotta ask permission from the moderator.
may I?
Let me-
Sometimes
I-
oh no, sometimes
Go ahead.
visitors turn into year-round residents.
Good point.
Mr. Polisson.
I think I might have forgot what I was going to say.
Sorry.
I'll take the blame.
One thing that I'd like to say about the tourism and stuff in Rockport is that maybe we need a local tax on the tourism dollar, because then they can start contributing to what they reap from fire, police, toilets, whatever that the town has to provide. And at this time, with no local tax, we get nothing except their smiling faces come to town and they wave goodbye when they leave.
Or decide to move here.
They can't afford it. That's
All
why
right.
that's why they visit.
I'm gonna move on.
Go ahead.
Our next question: what is the eventual what is our next question? Sorry,
You lose your place.
Sound like us.
what is the eventual outcome you would like to see for Long Beach? The eventual outcome you would like to see for Long Beach. You're welcome. Let's start with Ms. Battistelli.
Okay. Whoop.
There you go.
Okay, as everybody here knows, we addressed an issue with Long Beach leases, and my personal thought, and as a member of the board, I would like to have Long Beach remain as it is. I'm not at this moment in favor of pursuing the idea of either selling the lots individually nor looking into selling the area as a whole. I feel that it is a revenue stream that is beneficial to the town, but it's also a community that exists down there where people, some of whom are Rockport people, they own a home in Rockport and a house now on Long Beach. It is a public beach, and I want that to remain as such for all the residents of Rockport. So I think, for me, I would not be in favor of making any changes. We just need to have status quo.
All right, Mr. Murphy.
Long Beach is clearly one of the jewels of Rockport. Having grown up in Rockport, I spent many beautiful afternoons on Long Beach, and I absolutely love Long Beach. But the discussion of selling Long Beach lots is certainly one that the board will need to address in the next 3 years as the town enters the back half of a 10-year agreement or 10-year lease. If we want to sell Long Beach, it's quite an undertaking. It will need special legislation from Beacon Hill, and it would take a lot. And again, you would lose that revenue as well, but it might be the time to do it. We certainly should discuss it. I'm not saying that I'm in favor of it, but it's certainly something that we should do. The town of Ipswich, the town of Essex have similar situations, and they are difficult situations and leases and so forth, but it's something that should be at least looked at. We continue to work with our Long Beach neighbors. They're terrific people, and we enjoy having them. They're part of Rockport, a very important part of Rockport. So it is something that we need to look as we get towards the back end of a 10-year agreement, lease agreement.
Mr. Polisson.
Well, with Long Beach, I think the town has not been really fair with those people. I think they're being way overcharged. A lot of those homes were owned by families that have had to turn around and sell them because they can't pass them on to their kids or their grandkids because the kids and the grandkids can't afford the prices that have been cranked up. I don't blame them one bit for being incensed down there, the way the Board of Selectmen and the town has treated them. Like I say, a lot of these people have been here for years and years, and the kind of fees and charges that they get when they only can live there a handful of months a year is, it's ludicrous.
Ms. Donnelly?
So this is one of those questions that has no good answer. I've really thought about this a lot. I think, I should say I spent one of the most magical evenings of my life there. I have a friend who has a house at the very end of Long Beach, and walking along the boardwalk there to go to the Long Beach Dairy Maid in the evening as the sun was setting, it was unbelievable. It was just out of a movie. You couldn't have made it up. It's a very, very special place, and I have deep empathy for the people who have homes there with generations of family members who've enjoyed Long Beach. I think it's no matter what decision is made, it will be difficult for the town and for the people who have homes there. So I don't mean to dodge the question. I don't think there's a good answer. I think the answer will be made for us at some point. It's a barrier beach. And so we have to recognize that fact. And I think that needs to be one of the factors that we take into consideration as we make the decision as a board. Now that you've said, Paul, we're on the back end of this 10-year lease, what is the right thing to do for the town and for the people who have the homes there?
Please.
Prior to this 10-year lease that the Board of Selectmen signed with Long Beach, for a front row lease money, the Long Beach residents were paying $2,200. That has increased over a period of during that 10-year period. But it's also gradually. So those people that may want to sell could sell. But and it's still under market value. It is still under market value. So other boards of selectmen did not deal with this. $2,200 for oceanfront property, in my opinion, is low. And we brought it up, and we added 2 months. You used to have to, you can now reside in Long Beach in March and stay till November. And there were other concessions made.
And they can sublease.
And they can sublease, yes, that's a good point. Prior to that, they couldn't, and they could get, and sometimes they're getting $5,000 a week, high end, but they're renting it out as well. So we'll negotiate when the 10-year lease is over, and we'll come up with it. But I believe the selectmen were very fair to Long Beach.
Would anyone else like to add anything?
Well, I'll just make a point here. So as a board, when you have to deal with an issue like this, you can't just look at one neighborhood. You have to make decisions that are based on all of our taxpayers. And so, we took on an issue. It's not an easy issue, and I understand that, people had to make some tough choices. But we had to be responsible for our entire town. And that's what does happen when you're on a board making decisions like that.
Okay. All right, we're ready to move on? Okay. There's a question on the ballot regarding making Rockport a welcoming place for all.
I heard about that.
Did you hear about it? We heard about it all the way over in Gloucester. About making Rockport a welcoming place for all, regardless of immigration status. How should the town and you, as a member of the Board of Selectmen, go about making this a reality? Oh, I should tell you who's going first. Mr. Polisson.
Oh, that's simple. That's simple. I would not make it happen. Positively not happen. Illegal immigrants are illegal, just what it says. They don't belong here, and they shouldn't be here. They're a pox on our society. They get free medical insurance. They don't pay any taxes. They get all kinds of food stamps. They get every kind of freebie there is, yet you and I pay hard dollars in taxes to support that. We should not allow them in our town under any circumstance. And also, what happens when you become a sanctuary town, you may all laugh and think it's funny, but the United States government is going to crack down on them. Boston and Cambridge are probably going to be a couple of the first ones. They're going to lose all their federal funding. And right now, Rockport gets $1.7 million a year in federal funds, according to the Treasurer's Office. You want to have that go out of our budget? How do you think the town's finances are going to do without something like that? And this ballot question, it asks the taxpayer to condone breaking the law. It gives you an incentive to break the law. It tells your policemen, ignore the law. What kind of situation is that you don't understand how bad that is? Thank you.
Okay. I should make clear to the audience too, a background on that. That out of the $1.6 million in federal aid in 2016, Rockport received $1.3 million from FEMA, specifically for storm damage to your Pigeon Cove seawall. You might know this already, but I did some background searching for you. The town received roughly $7,700 in specific grants to the police department. And all other federal aid over $300,000 was passed through the state first. So the state of Massachusetts oversaw the distribution to individual communities based on need. So these were mainly for special education and early childhood education. So all the need-based funding, such as this type of funding, is decided by the state, not by the federal government. So in essence, you all in Rockport will have to, I guess, conjure up a hurricane or a tornado to get another $1.3 million from the federal government. So that's background. I should have gone into that earlier. Ms. Battistelli.
Oh, okay, thank you. So, you know, to me, there's been an awful lot of confusion about this issue and about what it would mean, what it wouldn't mean. I did sort of, if you don't mind, I'll sort of read a statement just so that I'm clear on what I'm saying regarding this issue. So for us, the citizens who sponsored the warrant article came before our meeting in March, and they had well over 400 signatures asking the board if we would vote to put a question on the ballot. So that's a separate issue. The warrant article was slated for town meeting, which we all know was discussed at town meeting. The question before us that night was worded differently from the warrant article, and it simply said, shall the town of Rockport publicly affirm our community's continued commitment to welcoming and respecting all and providing a safe and secure environment for residents, workers, and visitors alike, regardless of immigration status. When I was heading to the meeting, I honestly wasn't sure how I was going to vote, and to be clear, I was not leaning towards voting for the article at town meeting. And in fact, I did not vote in favor of the Article W at town meeting. I had concerns as a town official about the potential impact to the town. And in addition, I was concerned about the town meeting becoming a venue to discuss issues such as this. Between Article W and Article V, a resolution to support Anti-Corruption Act, which is a complicated piece of legislation, we debated for over an hour and a half. At the town meeting, it was pointed out that these are important and serious issues which should be discussed, considered, and possibly acted upon, depending on how individuals and groups feel. Also raised at the town meeting was a concern about future articles that people may want to bring before our town meeting regarding equally important, complicated social issues about which people will hold strong views and about which the town has no direct control.
Okay, thank you.
We need to ask ourselves if
Ms.
this is
Donnelly?
the proper venue. Thank you.
There's a question on the ballot regarding making Rockport a welcoming place for all, regardless of immigration status. How should the town and you as a member of the Board of Selectmen go about making this a reality?
I did a lot of soul searching on this question, and I actually formulated a statement that would have offended no one and really told you nothing about how I feel. And then I realized that I was becoming somebody I didn't want to be. And so I think that what we're saying, what is being said in this ballot question is no different from what we do today. Chief Horvath has acknowledged that. It's how most of us behave every day, including probably you, Mr. Polisson. You just treat people like people. And I think that we should continue to do that. So I am in favor of this ballot initiative. And I think it means nothing other than treating other human beings as human beings. Where there's lots of complicating factors here. The 10th Amendment to the Constitution, which prohibits the federal government from enlisting local and state police to do the federal government's job. It's not a crime, and it's an administrative infraction. There are so many complexities. I think this will get decided above our pay grade. There are already lawsuits going on, so I don't think it's something that we should ignore, but I don't think it's something that will have any effect on money that comes to Rockport. And I think it's just a basic, decent thing to do, to treat other people the way you would like to be treated.
Mr. Murphy?
Thank you. Rockport is a welcoming community, always has been and always will be. This citizen petition came in front of the Board of Selectmen, and we had no role in creating any of the 4 citizen petitions. And it's taken on a life of its own. There's no question about that. And it starts, I believe, all the way from Washington, all the way to Boston and across this country. Ipswich is going through the exact same thing that Rockport is going through. I've talked to a lot of people about this. I have some personal feelings about it, but as an elected official in Rockport, I am not willing to take the chance losing federal funding. And I cannot support this at this time because I am concerned about what could happen down the road. And I have to worry about, as an elected official, the town of Rockport and its budget. So, thank you.
Okay. The next one is, I'm going to go to because we still have some time, I'm going to go to one of our alternate questions before our last question. Here's one. The selectmen represent the entire town. How do you decide what is in the public good? That is, what is good for the town as a whole, when it conflicts with what is demanded by a small but vocal constituency? Let me pick someone.
I don't think of an issue.
I'll start back at the beginning. Ms. Battistelli.
Oh, I won. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'm trying to think of examples because I know that there have been a number of examples over the last 6 years. Sorry to bring up the one issue that we just talked about in terms of Long Beach, but that's a case in point where we needed to represent the entire town and make a decision that in some respects was difficult. So I'm trying to think of when we're making decisions, you know, it gets a little difficult when you have a group of people right in front of you and they're upset about something or vocal about something, and yet you realize that it'll be more difficult to explain to the larger audience, the rest of the town, that you made a decision that evening just because people were yelling the loudest. So I think you just have to stand up and do what you believe is right. And sometimes you might not get elected because you stood up and took that position. But ironically, it gets easier. I think it's difficult at first, but once you realize that that is the way that you can, you know, benefit the town as a whole, it just gets easier. And you're willing to accept the, you know, the folks who will probably not speak to you again because of the decision that you made. Thanks.
Mr. Polisson.
Read the question again.
Sure, sorry. The selectmen represent the entire town. How do you decide what is in the public good? That is, what is good for the town as a whole, when it conflicts with what is demanded by a small but vocal constituency?
Well, it's great that the small but vocal constituency, appeared at the meeting to voice their opinion. But what's good for the town of Rockport isn't always necessarily what's good for them. That's why they're pushing it, and they all show up at the meeting to try to convince you of what they desire. The only way you can make a rational decision is to use your best judgment for what you think the rest of the people in town think about it, and compare the rest of the people compared to the small contingency that showed up, and try to make a reasonable decision that you hope will satisfy both. And like Erin says, you might get kicked off the board the next time, but that's part of the risk you take. You got to do what you think is right, and if you take a hit, you take a hit.
Mr. Murphy.
Take it.
Take the hits.
Smash. There's a hit. Crash.
Being a selectman is great fun. I enjoy it. I take it very seriously. I talk to people constantly, especially I take every vote extremely serious, and I weigh the decisions, and they weigh heavily on me. I can tell you that there have been sleepless nights. Did I make the right vote? But I always vote in the best interest of the town of Rockport and its citizens, not the neighborhoods, particular neighborhoods, but what is the benefit to the town. And there are times when, I know there are people that won't talk to me anymore, but that's, I'm a big boy, I can handle that. And I have a job where I'm pissing people, oops. Excuse me. I have a job that I upset people on a daily basis, so I'm used to, coming here to Rockport and at selectmen's meetings. But the great majority, the vast majority of people that have disagreed with me, and would see him in church, or I'd see him at the dump, and so the transfer station, whatever the case may be. I always treat you with respect. So, but there are a couple of that. But that's what it goes with the territory. But I can tell you that every decision that I make, major decision or small decision, I always have in the back of my mind, what is the end benefit for the citizens of Rockport?
My turn?
Your turn.
Would you please repeat the question?
Of course. The selectmen represent the entire town. How do you decide what is in the public good, that is, what is good for the town as a whole, when it conflicts with what is demanded by a small but vocal constituency?
So it may surprise some of you to hear this, but having spent 30 years in business, I've faced this challenge before. There are people everywhere who have strong opinions, and I kind of like to think of it as extreme listening. It's really important that everyone feels heard. And I think the most important thing that the Board of Selectmen can do is make sure that people feel heard. Whether you make a decision in the favor of the group that is most vocal, it's important that they feel that you have heard what they had to say, even if you happen to disagree with them, and that you solicit input from people who maybe are not directly affected. So I really believe in listening and really hearing what people have to say, and then making a decision based on my own judgment, which is formed on years of experience of having to make hard decisions that affect people in terms of employees with their daily lives, or clients with what's going to happen in their business. And over time, people come to trust that you are making the best decision in the moment because they feel that you've listened.
Okay.
Can I just add one thing?
Sure.
May I? In this age of technology and email and text messaging and things of that nature, the citizens of Rockport have been very, very good about letting me know when I've messed up or when they liked something. So I get an idea of how things are going by conversations with constituents.
Would anybody else like to add anything? Okay, well, I think we will move on to our summary statements. And we have an extra 4 minutes. So I will give you three minutes each to answer these. And we will start with Mr. Murphy.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I would like to begin my closing statement by thanking the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this evening's debate. I am grateful for the opportunity to discuss the issues of that facing the town of Rockport. Furthermore, I'd like to thank the Rockport Public Library for hosting tonight. And a special thank you goes out to Denise, Erin, and Mike for stepping forward and throwing their hats into the political arena. I admire all of you and commend you for your willingness to serve the town and its citizens. My political background consists of serving as a member of the school committee for 2 terms in the 1990s and now completing my 2nd term on the Board of Selectmen. I thoroughly enjoyed my time on the school committee and believe I was a stabling force on the board and was instrumental in hiring a new superintendent and restructuring the school administration. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve on the Board of Selectmen for the past six years. During that period of time, I've learned so much about the job and the responsibilities of being an effective selectman. I have even enjoyed the work during difficult times when hot button issues have come up. I have consistently strived to be decisive and honest in every issue I have dealt with and voted on. I recognize that not everyone has agreed with some of the positions that I have taken in the past, but I will tell you I've always voted and will continue to vote in the best interest of the town. I have prided myself on my availability to meet with constituents and be accessible to the residents of Rockport. I believe serving constituents is the top priority of a member of the Board of Selectmen. I have done my best to clarify my positions in writing, in public statements, during meetings, and letters to the editor in order to communicate with as many citizens of Rockport as possible to keep people informed. I encourage townspeople who have an issue or concern on any action the Board of Selectmen has taken in the past or present, please accept this as an open invitation to speak to me for a better understanding of the issues. I believe I've worked hard each and every day on the Board of Selectmen. I have worked effectively with the town administrator's office and other department heads across the town. I've developed and maintained a good working relationship with our state representatives on Beacon Hill, as well as U.S. Congressman Seth Moulton's office. All of this has been done to benefit the town of Rockport. On a personal note, something that makes me particularly well qualified to serve on the Board of Selectmen is that I was raised in Rockport. And I currently live here with my wife and raising our family here. We have 2 daughters and a son, and it matters a lot to what's going on to the town to me. I am committed to working towards improving as many aspects of the town community as possible and seeing that our integrity of our town is maintained and our citizens are well represented. I look forward to the possibilities of serving another 3-year term.
One last sentence.
I look forward to serving one more time and continue to make Rockport one of the finest communities in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Donnelly.
I want to thank the current board, Paul and Erin, Sarah, who's here, anybody who volunteers their time to serve the town. I think we owe all of them a debt of gratitude. I think it's also sometimes the time is right for a fresh perspective, and I think I can bring that fresh perspective. My 30 years in business as a successful business person working with organizations large and small, for-profit, not-for-profit, I think will serve me well in helping to bring maybe some new ideas and creative ways of addressing problems that are long-standing and newer problems that may come before the town. I am very, very excited about the opportunity that I may have to serve you. I have no business here in town. I wasn't born here, but I have lived here since 1989, so I'm getting there.
Almost a native.
I'm almost a native.
Close enough.
Close enough. And I feel very, very connected to this town and really committed to doing everything I can to serve you and to serve the town and to find ways to address some of the problems that we've talked about tonight. As I said, my background is in communication, so I really am going to look for ways to enhance the way that we share information in town, really take advantage of technology, and find ways that we stay connected. I really am committed to public schools. I think it's important that we solve that problem. I'm one of the products, for better or worse, of a public school system, and I'm very grateful for the education that I received. And I think that's really the core of our democracy. So I think it's very, very important that we find a way to address that challenge in Rockport. I guess what I want to say is I'd appreciate the opportunity to serve you. I am committed. I will do everything in my power to act in the greater good and to really reinforce this notion of openness and transparency in town government and make sure that everyone has an opportunity to contribute and have their voices heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Battistelli.
Yes, thank you. So I too would like to thank the League for putting this together and all of you for attending tonight. And as always, local cable comes every other Tuesday night to our meetings, and it's wonderful to have them videotaped so that people sitting at home can listen to meetings that are held at Town Hall as well as debates and our town meeting. I appreciate Denise and Mike putting their names forward as potential candidates for the board because debates like this are great. Races are good. It's a wonderful thing. So I believe and hope that I've been an effective member of the Board of Selectmen. As chairperson, I feel I ran efficient meetings in order to accomplish the town business every other Tuesday night, but I hope I balanced that with allowing the public to comment on important issues as well. I consider this my part-time job, although sometimes it does feel a little bit more than that. I have represented the town at various State House meetings as well as regional events and worked always in Rockport's best interest. I'm proud of being instrumental in getting the MBTA to finally move those tracks with the large train that went right along the access to Evans Field. And so now hundreds of families and kids can walk to Evans Field without worrying about slipping underneath that train. We met with the Department of Conservation and Recreation to help move along the rehabilitation of the visitor center at the Halibut State Park. I've also continued to work with the MBTA on the power upgrade project, which, believe it or not, will actually begin this Tuesday. Serving on the Capital Improvement Planning Committee was particularly insightful. I served 3 different years on that committee, and you really learned the pressing needs of our capital projects and more about long and short-term debt than I ever cared to know about. It's indeed eye-opening to learn the ins and outs of what it takes to run a town. When I was first elected, all of a sudden it's this strange thing that comes over you. You feel like you have the weight of the town on your shoulders, like you have to solve all these problems, you know, not by yourself, but you've got to solve all these problems. And you quickly realize how many people, both the employees and volunteers of all the committees, work to keep this ship afloat. I'm in awe of all our town volunteers and how much they contribute. Our schools, our emergency management personnel, etc. I'm being told I've got to wrap up. I believe we're moving in the right direction with new businesses investing in Rockport and existing businesses doing well. I hope to be one of the 2 candidates that you might consider voting for one more term. Thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you. Mr. Polisson.
Last but not least, huh?
Certainly.
My vision is to try to do, if I get elected, to try to do the best I can for this town. I want to try to make this town a great place to live for all our citizens and their kids and business. You have to have some business here, but the taxpayer comes first, I think. And it'll be my goal to try to make the taxpayer happy and love the town that they live in and not get taxed to death. And Erin must be getting nervous because she's got twice as many signs up. Thank you.
Well, on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Cape Ann, I want to thank all 4 of our candidates for participating in this debate. And if you think it's cool to be able to make up debate questions, you too should join the League of Women Voters. Come join us. We're called League of Women, but we let men in too. Everyone is welcome. Democrats, Republicans, anywhere in the middle and on either edge of those. Come join us. And also, thanks so much to the league members who provided questions and helped to organize this debate. Please, as I said before, go home, call someone in Rockport, and remind them to vote on Election Day on May 2nd.
Moderator,
Pardon?
we still got some minutes. How about you
We have
send some
to-
questions from the audience?
We have to wrap up because the library staff has to come in and
Well, I thought we were here till 8:30.
no. 8 o'clock, yeah.
We still got enough for if you want to ask the.
No, sir. I
somebody-
have 2 minutes left on the clock
All right.
before the staff comes in. So please go and remember to tell your friends and family in Rockport to vote. And I thank you all so much for coming. You do have a lovely town, and I enjoy it every time I come. Thank you very much.